Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome on in, Cougar Sports Saturday, hour number 3. Let's go now to a conversation I had with BYU football offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. Caught up with him earlier this week at practice. This is BYU OC Aaron Roderick. Welcome back into KSL News Radio here with BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. And Coach, how do you feel about where the offense has made the biggest progress here in spring ball, getting close to the midway point now?
Well, the most progress we've made, I would say, is just some of our younger players learning our scheme, development there, fundamentals and technique, and just knowing what to do. Those young guys are the guys that you're going to need when you get 5, 6, 7 games into the season and you get an injury, and one of those guys has to step up at whatever position. Everybody knows last year we started 3 different centers. We had, it seemed like a different offensive lineup almost every game. And credit to Coach Woods and to those kids, those players, man. Those guys had put in the work and they were ready to play. And so that's what we're trying to get out of spring ball, is just achieve depth at every position and have guys that can, whether they're starters or not, be ready to play in Big 12 games when they're needed.
You bring up that offensive line. Is there anyone in that O-line that is trying to maybe take fill the shoes of Connor Payne in terms of off the field and on the field as far as a leader goes along that offensive front?
Yeah, we have some good leadership there. Isaiah Jada is doing a really good job at left tackle, and he's a guy that's not afraid to speak up. He's a really charismatic kid. He's somebody that I think everybody respects a lot. He started 12 games at Colorado, and then last year he came in and agreed to redshirt and just worked hard all year, ready to play. And then when we needed him at the end of the season, he stepped up and played very well in the Utah game and the next week. And I expect him to be a really good player and a good leader. Bruce Mitchell's playing back at center. He did a great job last year at center, and he's not as vocal as Connor, but he's a just lead by example guy. And then we just have a bunch of guys come back. Austin Leosa did a nice job for us last year, and he's out here playing really well. So that O-line group I'm really proud of those guys, and we're building some depth there.
How proud are you of the steps forward that the offense as a whole took last year, and how do you build on it in 2025 with this third year in the Big 12 now?
Well, we did make a massive improvement. I appreciate you pointing that out. We were 31.3 points a game last year, was good, and we want to be better than that. We're not satisfied by any means, but it was a huge improvement. I think we were one of the top 10 most improved offenses in the country in scoring, and we were, I think, the second most improved offensive team in the country in the run game. And then I thought we did a lot of good things. The next step for us, though, is to take that next step. We need to score a few more points this year, and it starts with taking good care of the football and throwing more completions. We want to up our completion percentage without being less explosive. We're a team that likes to throw the ball down the field, so our completion percentage sometimes suffers a little bit by we throw it farther than most teams, but we want to throw more completions and take a little bit better care of the football and just sort of take that next step at all positions. If I keep telling the team, if everybody just improves a little bit, then the collective improvement is huge. And so there's no magic bullet, there's no magic formula. It's just everybody getting a little bit better, and so that's what we're striving for.
You've been pretty transparent in this during the winter and here in spring that you want to see, Jake improve that maybe touchdown to INT ratio. Can you see progress in spring for a veteran like Jake that's been in actual games now, or or do you feel like even this third spring for him at BYU you can still see progress from him in these 15 practices?
Absolutely, I'm seeing progress every day, and in my experience in coaching, usually that third year is the big year for quarterbacks. That's whether it's Zach Wilson's third year in the program, Jaron Hall, he was it was actually his fourth year in the program, but his second year as a starter, but it was his third year since he had started some games. He started some games that year when Zach got injured. The next year he was a full-time starter, and then the third year he was lights out and gets drafted. And you can go back through BYU history, man. The guys that are second and third year starters are usually the ones that play really great. And so that's what I expect from Jake, is just keep getting better every day. And I think we've set some very achievable goals. Nothing outrageous. We want to up our completion percentage. We want to throw fewer interceptions and more touchdowns. I mean, we have sort of a step-by-step process of how we're trying to achieve that with the way we implement the offense each day in practice, and try to have some measurable goals each day for him that we can review the film the next day and say, okay, we did better today in the red zone, and then the next day it might be about third downs. Okay, how do we do today on third downs? Those situational things, we're just looking for incremental improvement each day.
Last couple things here for Coach Roderick. At the Alamo Bowl, Jake noted to me that he says you probably won't find a better quarterback offensive coordinator relationship than between me and Coach Roderick. I would like to hear your thoughts on your relationship that you formed with Jake over these years, because I know you had identified him from the JC ranks and thought he'd be a big-time player, and just that relationship that you guys have developed over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about him, and I from the beginning when I first met him, I believed in him, and I think that that's been sort of there's I'm not I've my flaws. Everybody has their flaws, but I think whether it was Zach Wilson or Jaron Hall or Keaton Slovis or Jake, the one thing I want those guys to know when they take the field is that I believe in them, and that I don't flinch. If something goes wrong, you've probably seen that I'm not a very emotional guy. I don't have a lot of big reaction to things, good or bad. I try to be the same guy every day for those guys, and I think that consistency is what allows us to have a great relationship.
And then last thing, just maybe for the back half of spring ball, just some objectives that you and the staff are looking to achieve in these remaining practices.
Well, the first thing is just to keep building our depth. I mean, we need it's a long season, and you never know how many guys you're going to need at any position. So we're trying to get everybody better just each day, and it's just basic things. Getting lined up, knowing the play call, executing your assignment with the right fundamentals and technique. That's number one. And then secondly, just the things I've mentioned. We want to be a little bit better in the red zone. We need to be a little bit better on third down. And we feel like if we do those things, take better care of the football, in the red zone, and do better on third down, that's going to lead to more points. It's pretty simple. I mean, if you're converting a couple more third downs a game, that's 3 more downs you get, another more chances to throw the ball down the field or get yourself in the red zone, and then we got to finish those red zone drives with touchdowns. So that's where we're looking to improve, and we'll keep working at it.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you.
Good stuff, Mitch, with the OC Aaron Roderick, and he spoke earlier today along with Jay Hill and Jake Retzloff, which there's some good commentary, which we'll get to later on. But I like Aaron Roderick's approach to this spring football. I think he's setting the right goals. I think he is, and I've always appreciated too, Aaron's just candor, and willingness to give you information.
He said in that interview, I haven't always been the best. I admit that. Because let's call it what it is. Aaron Roderick.
The Keaton year, not his best.
Right. Aaron Roderick has been sometimes a point of contention among Cougar fans, where some want him fired. Others feel like he's done great. It's and that's to be expected with any BYU offensive coordinator. There has not been one BYU OC.
Even Norm Chow, who went on to run the USC offense in their heyday, also got ran out of town.
Yeah, I mean, everyone that's an OC at BYU goes through the ringer.
For sure.
It's
a hard job.
And I think that Roderick's approach and understanding, like, hey, I've had some slip-ups, but he does a pretty good job of self-evaluating, but he's got to, level it up. And I think that's going to be the challenge in front of this group this year, is to go from 31 points a game to around 35, 36, 37 points. Can they get to that threshold? Because they do that, Matt, I think they can win. They can be at least in that final week again in the mix to go to the Big 12 championship, and I think be in that game and have a chance to be 60 minutes away from potentially winning.
I like that he has set tangible goals that I think are attainable for his quarterback, because to me, I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to say it until the season starts probably. The success of this team depends on Jake Retzloff.
Definitely.
I believe the defense will be top 5 good again. I believe there is enough offensive returning talent. I believe the running game will be there. I believe the offensive line will come together. I'm not ready to say I believe that Jake is going to take the jump. I'm optimistic that he can. He's got the talent to do so. He's got the support to do so. I love that the coaching staff is intact. The TJ Woods is back for another year. Everything is there to go to the Big 12 title game. It's all there. To me, it just depends on Jake. And I love that Aaron Roderick said, Jake, we need 70% completion. We need 30 touchdowns. We need single-digit INTs. If he gets to those numbers, they're going to score 35 a game, and they're going to go to Dallas.
Well, think of the last 2 guys that were in year 3, as you heard from Roderick. Zach Wilson, year 3, that's what his numbers were. The efficiency, and I know that 2020 year was...
But his numbers were historically great.
He took advantage like they were bad opponents.
Yep.
Jaron Hall, third year in the program, 2019, 2020. Well,
2021, third year, but he's a starter. They have a great year. He's high 60%.
2022, even in that 8-5 year, he's not coughing up the football.
No,
he's taking care of the rock.
That was. There were a lot of things at work, but it wasn't Jaron Hall.
Yeah, it was the defense. Let's call it what it is. I mean, the defense prevented Jaron Hall from having a big senior year, and it's really kind of a shame, because if he had a Jay Hill defense that year, I think that we're talking about a different memory of Jaron Hall's senior season. But that's beside the point. But really, what it shows though is that there is a track record under Roderick that year 3 of these QBs, they take a massive jump, not only in yardage, but a pass completion rate and taking care of the football. And if Jake does that, BYU's going to be in a great spot, because I will say he's got to stay healthy.
Yes.
Behind him, I haven't seen enough yet that says the operation continues at a high level like we're seeing with BYU basketball. Oh, Yegor doesn't have it. Dallin Hall comes in and continues to operate at a high level. I'm not seeing that yet anywhere close with BYU's backup QBs. I do think that McKay Hillstead, to me, would be the pick for that number 2.
I think he will eventually be the backup quarterback. And the reason I say that is Aaron Roderick loves a dual-threat quarterback, and McKay Hillstead, who he noted today when asked a question about track and field and how that translates to football, he brought up McKay and his background in track and field.
Yep.
So I think just because of that, McKay will ultimately, I think, rise to the top there as the backup quarterback. But to your point, whether it's Bourget or McKay Hillstead, not a lot of production at this level that you can lean on to feel confident that they can get it done. That doesn't mean they can't. Jake didn't have a lot of Division I production, and then look at the year he had as a first-time starter for BYU last year. So it can be done. But to your point, there's a lot of question marks in that quarterback room, including Jake still, and that's got to be shored up if you want to feel good about making a run this fall and going to a Big 12 championship game.
In the words of Lavelle Edwards for so many years, this team's got a chance to be a pretty good football team.
They do.
That's to me, I think the biggest thing that really stands out in spring is that they've got the pieces.
They've got the pieces. However, I did like that A-Rod is, he's in great postseason form right now with the media. I love everything he's giving us.
Yeah.
And I love that he pointed this out, because it's true. Great season last year, but it could have been a mediocre season, because there were a lot of close games that went our way. Now, they won those games, and credit to them for winning them, but let's not act like 9 of the 11 wins, we just blew the doors off people. So,
and the Big 12, it's the crazy league.
Yep.
Hopefully for this league, BYU, Arizona State, they sustain it and continue on and be some top dogs, and you start to establish yourself nationally as the teams you look at and say, yep, it's the Big 12, it's BYU, it's ASU. But we know this league through 2 years, it's pretty crazy. And teams that you think are going to be good, they end up being bust. Last year's schedule at this time, You thought BYU was going to play the top 5 teams. It was the bottom 5 teams when it was all said and done. So it is a fine margin for error in the Big 12 in football, and they've got to continue to get better, and taking care of the football and Jake getting better, to your point, is going to be the biggest key of them all, because if he becomes a superstar and becomes one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, and I would say, too, if we're talking Big 12 championship, he's got to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football in the nation to get to that level, because Sam Leavitt last year, he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
Good point.
That's what it takes to win the Big 12. You got to be one of the best in the nation. That's what Jake's got to become.
Let's take a break. More football talk on the other side. It's Cougar Sports Saturday right here on the legacy home of the Cougs, KSL News Radio.